Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla, this is Kelly, and we're glad that you're here with us so that hopefully we can talk about a few mental health related issues and start to break down the stigma. So today we're going to talk about, how we get stuck and we hit that wall. And then what happens when we hit that wall, right?
Yeah.
And I know you suggested that, if we're all honest with ourselves, we've all been there, done that, right? Like, it's so true. And I would even take it further that, like when we're feeling stuck, we hit that wall, then perhaps we become very reactive, with whatever the situation is. But I would even boil it down further that a lot of that stuckness starts with, not being seen, not being heard, and not being validated. So, like, if you have that happen, which, lately I've been breaking everything down to that. Like, you could pretty much break down everything in the world down to not being seen, not being heard, not being validated. But if that's happening to you in your life, then of course you don't feel like you have any resources or any way out, so that gets us stuck. You keep hitting that same wall, and then of course we either shut down completely or we explode.
Yep. People hit the wall instead of finding a way around the wall, over the wall, through the wall,
right.
around the wall.
Yeah, because then the hitting the wall would be all that fun self-harm crap.
Yep. Which, some people try to deal with that, as we know. I work in a family law firm with Stark Family Law Group, so, we get people that are in very emotional states too, so we'll have different reactions and stuff that we try to give people the help to help deal with, and, and you probably see that too. We've all been in that position where you have a lot coming at you, you say being reactive, and when you're feeling stuck, you've got the weight of everything. Sometimes you feel like, okay, my brakes went out, and then my refrigerator broke, and then I'm fighting with my spouse, and then my kids are doing this. It just.
And I forgot to pack their lunch, and right.
Yeah, it just, when everything, it feels like it's like feast or famine. It just crashes in at once, and it never fails. It's just like Murphy's Law. If it can't go wrong, it will go wrong. And then sometimes it feels like Murphy's Law is just a perpetual thing, and then you're sitting there, and then either some people, as you know, internalize it and just let it fester and fester and fester.
It does come out one way or the other. Usually, if you don't take care of it yourself, it comes out in ways that you do not like. Yeah.
Yep.
Or that you don't like, if you hold it in and it starts seeping out in kind of these more insidious ways, right? Then you don't like the person you become when it starts leaking out. Yep. At least I don't like the way I get when I, if I don't deal with something, or I put off my self-care routine, or, I choose not to, I think I can't speak my mind in this moment, it's going to come out one way or another. And it usually is me not being authentically me, and me not being kind or compassionate to others, and myself as well, Yeah.
And people deal with it all different ways. Some people are criers, some people are yellers, some people,
They get drunk, they do drugs,
Yep.
they overeat, right, yeah. They hit.
Get real passive aggressive and not solve anything, and there's just so many. It's like, we're talking about hitting a wall. It could be a labyrinth that you're trapped in. Like, and if you're not dealing with it, you're gonna be perpetually hitting a corner until you can find your way out of it.
Oh my God, that just made me think of, so my grandsons love watching like Spider-Man and Spidey and his Amazing Friends, and so one episode, Sandman creates this giant maze made of sand, of course, and he's got Spin, Spidey, and Ghost Spider all trapped in there. And he's like, well, if you can get out, then whatever, I'll go away, or whatever the case is. But they're trying to use their web shooters and have it stick to the sand, and it's all falling, right? And so that just, when you said that, that just reminds me of that. Like, I have a tool that should work, and it's not working, and it's not working. And so, you hit your head against the wall, and you're like, but if I do this, it's supposed to do that, right? And why won't it? And so sometimes you have to stop and say, okay, if it's not, then, can I shift? Can I adjust? But sometimes if you're so overwhelmed, like just the simple thought of moving over a foot to the left or right is beyond your capacity, right? It's just overwhelming. and I suspect you probably see this at your place as well. So when people come into my office and they're just, going on and on and on about, what a shit show their life is, and it's constantly chaotic, and they never can catch a break, and all this other stuff, and you can just hear them just getting more and more aggravated. And when you say, well, no wonder you're having a hard time, anybody would. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, it's obvious why this is a problem. Like, who wouldn't be frustrated when their car breaks down, their kid's puking, they're late for work, like, who wouldn't? And all of a sudden they're like, wait, you actually listened to what I said? I'm like, yeah, I listened to what you said, right? I heard you, I saw you, I validated what you're going through, right? Can we figure out another way to handle it, right? No, you're not, this is not a, bad girl thing or bad boy thing. It's like, yeah, of course your, life would be chaotic if all those things are happening. My life would be just as chaotic if all those things were happening in my life, right? So, bringing it to to this place where you're like, you're not alone.
No, and it happens to everybody. And I'm kind of going back to your whole Spider-Man complex.
Well, we kind of love our Spider-Man, yeah.
I mean, you're thinking like, oh, they can't get out because of the tool I have has it. But you know what? I'm sure there's probably some message within that episode or something where they work together to do it. But it's a good point because you might not have the tool for this task to help you, but I might be able to help you with that. So again, not being afraid to, wave the flag and ask for help too.
Right, and actually, if you finish watching the episode, one of them said, hey, why don't we put some sort of mark on the wall so we know where we went, right? Another one said, hey, what might be interesting is if, because Sandman's very egotistical, so let's start this rhetoric like, well, this maze is okay, but like, I was in a maze that was so much better, and it had stairs in different parts of it, right? So they started thinking out of the box, and eventually, Sandman got tricked into pretty much letting them go, and because they couldn't use their web shooters, like that tool that they relied on so heavily was ineffective in that situation, but they started to use their brain, and they started to, get creative in how they went about it, and lo and behold, they were free, and they won, and life is good. Whether the kids got the message or not, who knows? But but you're right. This one has a tool, and I need that, or vice versa, and that's how we can all help each other out.
Yeah, and and sometimes the same tool is not always good for useful for everything. You can't put a square peg into a round hole.
And we can't use a hammer for every task around the house. This is what they tell me.
Unless you or me trying to, when I first moved out on my own, my dad came over to help me do some tools, and I pulled out a high heel and a butter knife for my toolbox.
There you go. Yeah.
It worked for me at that point, but
I mean, duct tape usually is the go-to tool. Like that's falling apart. We'll just put some duct tape on it. It's all good. So super glue. That's another good one, right? And sometimes having a one-size-fit-all tool is very useful, but there will come a day where it maybe doesn't work. Or maybe doesn't work as well.
Or, it's a temporary fix.
It is. And then you do got to reach out to people. But not just anybody, because not everybody deserves to hear our stories. And so you got to reach out to people who will care. And if you are met with somebody who is rude and disrespectful the first time, then you close that door and you go open up another door, right?
Even though it might take you a couple times to shut that door.
Yeah, and it might take you, and sometimes by the time they see you or me, part of their fury is the fact that we're like the 15th person that they're coming to for help, and they did, at no point can they, even fathom the fact that somebody might actually try to help them. Right.
No,
so if you find yourself in that situation now, we'll say ask for help. If you're not in that situation now, you will probably be, tomorrow or the next day, because we all end up in that situation at some point, numerous times throughout our lives. So reach out, ask for help, take a couple deep breaths, gather up the courage to try just one more time, because you never know what you're going to get. So remember, you could change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on being the best you possible. I will see you next time. Bye.